During the 1950s and 60s, a battle for civil rights raged in the United States. African Americans were fighting for equality that had been guaranteed to all Americans by the Constitution. But many living in the segregated South attempted to silence their cause. The Ku Klux Klan tried to intimidate anyone who spoke for freedom and justice. Their campaign used violence against civil rights workers and sometimes ordinary people. The Klan's methods had the opposite effect. Instead of instilling fear, they motivated freedom fighters to push harder and convinced many who had not been involved to take a stand. Civil rights activists were determined that those who lost their lives would not have died in vain. Instead, they would become heroes who would be remembered forever. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy from Chicago. He was visiting cousins in Money, Mississippi during the summer of 1955. One night, two men took Emmett Till's life because they said he had spoken to a white female shopkeeper earlier that day. The men were tried for murder, but a white jury acquitted them of the charges.
Dr. King would often say, honor and suffering is redemptive, and there's power in innocent blood. The innocent blood of Emmett Till exploded and hit the national consciousness in ways that was irreversible.
Emmett Till's death was not in vain. It gave others, including Medgar Evers, another reason to continue to fight for civil rights. Evers was born and raised in Mississippi. He loved his home, even if he did not have the rights he deserved. Evers believed that fighting for those rights was worth any risk. If he could not enjoy true citizenship, at least one day his children could. Evers was not afraid to challenge the inequalities he experienced. He joined the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, and worked to end the discrimination against African Americans in the South. On the night of June 12, 1963, Evers watched President John F. Kennedy deliver a speech on the importance of the civil rights movement. Evers and his colleagues at the NAACP were pleased with Kennedy's speech and felt it was a positive step for the civil rights movement. Evers left his office and drove home, but as he walked toward his front door, a shot rang out.
It was a real sign of changes to come, that his body came all the way to Washington and his widow and little children went to the White House, and that he was buried in Arlington Cemetery and accepted as somebody, as a martyr.
In September of the same year, another attack took place. This one happened in Birmingham, Alabama. The 16th Street Baptist Church, a center for the civil rights movement, was bombed. The attack targeted no one person. Its purpose was to hurt anyone in the church. On the morning of September 15, 1963, 4 young girls were in the church basement preparing for services. They were unaware that the Ku Klux Klan had planted dynamite just outside. Addie Mae Collins, Carol Robertson, Cynthia Wesley, and Denise McNair were killed instantly when the bomb went off, and about 20 other people were wounded. Even though innocent people were now targets, the power of the civil rights movement did not slow down. Martin Luther King Jr. used those who had lost lives as sources of strength. Although King himself would become an assassin's target, his message would carry on. Believers in equality would not sit until the segregation of the South was stopped and justice was guaranteed for future generations. March after march, sit-in after sit-in, civil rights activists gave their all, knowing that they were making a difference.